Did he
Not
give you an update?
anymore, but that was to get it, he is arriving at City Hall, it says.
Okay.
So,
I guess we can give it a couple more minutes.
well, I mean,
First, at the beginning is easy, so
yeah,
maybe
the
we will get
beginning, I don't
started.
think he's,
It matters.
you know, chance to object to the minutes.
Okay, well, gosh, November 6th. The year is fast disappearing. So welcome to the November 6th San Jose Climate Advisory Commission meeting. For all of you here and for those of you that are on Zoom. So we welcome the public who's present and for the public who are also on Zoom. And just for if anyone on Zoom isn't familiar with how it works, we won't, for those people on Zoom, the public, you're not able to share back into the room. You can just listen. And so, sorry about that, but that's sort of beyond my control as how it's working. So let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. And commissioners, if you want to raise your hand, and would you do me a favor and also just repeat for anyone who might not know your name, if you could just not only raise your hand, but repeat your name so everyone, and that gives us a chance to understand how your name is pronounced as well. So if you want to go ahead and call to order.
Manny McKelly.
Here, Monty McCullough.
Hello.
Monty. Okay, thanks. Sorry.
Bill DiVincenzi.
He's not here.
Glenn Garfunkel.
Here.
Macwin Savio D'Souza. Lucia Marquez.
Here.
Ruth Marino.
Here, Ruth Marino.
Karen Nelson.
Karen Nelson is here.
Victor Niemeyer.
Hold on, Victor.
Philip Remaker.
On his way.
I'm trying.
Rio Wakabayashi.
That was really good. Rio Wakabayashi, I'm present.
Excellent. All right.
Thank you.
So we do have a quorum of commissioners present. And now we want to also go to the orders of the day to be verified. And you all did get the agenda for today. Are there any corrections to the agenda as they were distributed? So I think I can just simply say the minutes can stand as approved as they were distributed if there's no changes. Is that correct? No changes? Okay. Let's move on to the public record. Ann, is there anything in the public record?
I have to abstain from the September 18th meeting. I wasn't here.
Yeah, oh, and that was,
September 18th, I wasn't here. So I can't
okay,
go.
that's, okay. I think that's a little farther down, but that's okay.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right.
Consent.
I'm sorry. I thought you said that the minutes.
It's okay.
Consent calendar item A.
Yeah. So, all right, welcome. So, so we're now at sort of headed, we started, we're in the agenda. And there's nothing for the public record, is that correct? So now we move on to the open forum. And this is the opportunity for the public to present to the room if you have anything that you want to share that is not part of the agenda. And I think we only have one member of the public here, is that correct?
And I have something.
Do you want to?
Shall I share it right now?
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
Okay, so I have 2 points that I would like to make. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to San Jose Clean Energy for partnering with Haven Energy to help income qualified households to install solar panels plus battery battery free of cost through the state's SGIP program. And it seems like this is going to be a really good way to help generate energy through virtual power providers. And I've begun the application process. And I just wanted to share this information with you all and perhaps with the public as well, how my experience has been going so far. There are a couple of things that have concerned me and that I found a little bit difficult with the process. So at first, working with Haven Energy, it was a bit uncomfortably high pressure, their approach. And they told me that the remaining funding for the program was extremely low and that my application for funding would just barely make it if I applied the same day that the first phone call that I had with them. And they said that I would have to then sign a 63-page agreement on that day in order to qualify for funding. And so that was the very first day that I spoke with them, and they were expecting me to sign that contract the same day. That made me feel very uncomfortable. And so I didn't sign the contract that same day, and somehow I got lucky and the funding did not close the next day. Then the system was quoted to me to cost $45,115, and they had never even been to my house. So I don't know how they came up with that cost, but that was the cost written in the contract that they wanted me to sign. They also want to file a personal property UCC1 financing statement with the Secretary of State and record a fixture filing in the official real estate records of the county. So the fixture filing makes sense because the solar panels are going to be affixed to my home, but the UCC1 filing does not make sense to me and could potentially act as a lien on my home. And I've heard where solar companies have actually had liens on people's homes, and then that led to people being at risk of losing their home. So that process was uncomfortable for me. Then there were some things that they told me that ended up showing up differently in the contract. So Haven told me that all the maintenance would be provided by Haven. And then in the contract, it says that the customer shall perform any maintenance of the system and that they should ensure that the solar panels are cleaned as needed to maintain adequate energy production. Then another example is I was told that my average monthly electricity payment would be approximately $43.67 upon installation of the solar panels. And then in the contract, it says Haven does not in any way guarantee savings on any utility bill, guarantee any specified level of performance from Haven's time of use management, or guarantee that the utility or government authority will not change its rates. And then finally, I was told that the state determines when the energy will be pulled from the battery, that you have to sign up for the emergency response program, and that they can only pull a total of 60 hours per year. So that's what I was told. But then in the Haven contract, it says Haven and customer acknowledge and agree that during the term, Haven shall have full ownership and control of the system and the sole discretion to determine when or if energy generated by or stored in the system is delivered to the premises, maintained within the system, or transferred to the energy grid. So to me, that sounds like they're saying that they can take the energy from the battery anytime they want. And I'm just bringing this up right now because I think it's important that as many people understand as possible. This is a really good opportunity. I would love to be able to participate in it, but the contract is really worrisome, the language that they use. And it makes me feel like my home could be at risk, or there could be other risks involved in it. And so when you are somebody who's income qualifying, you can't take that kind of risk. So others might feel the same way when they see a contract that looks so differently from what they've been told. So I just wanted to bring that to people's attention and see if there's any way that the public could get more information to feel reassured that this contract is not going to put them at risk.
So
Could you repeat who that company is again?
Haven Energy.
So what is the connection between Haven and the city of San Jose?
They are partnering with San Jose Clean Energy to enact the SGIP program through the state. That's to provide funding for solar and battery.
Yeah.
And so they're just, that's who San Jose Clean Energy is referring to.
So it was a referral from SAS. And did you contact San Jose Clean Energy about this?
I did, and I haven't heard anything back from them. Yeah.
So you're looking for a better contract?
The contract makes me feel very uncomfortable, the way that it's worded, and so I don't feel comfortable signing it, but I do really want to participate. And I feel that probably others are gonna feel the same way as well if they're reading the contract. 63-page contract, by the way. So that's one point that I wanted to make. And the second comment I wanted to make is that it's in regards to the building permits department. I purchased a used EV through the Clean Cars for All program. And as part of that program, I also applied for a rebate on a home charger. And I'm now working with a qualified contractor who will help me to install the charger. And through this program, you have a limited window of 60 days to complete the installation. My deadline is 12/15/25. On 10/28/25, so that's 9 days ago, my contractor applied for a permit to do this work through San Jose, the permitting department. And as of today, the contractor has not even received confirmation that the application has been received. So, and they've been calling, but nobody answers the phone. And they've emailed several times and they have not received a response to even confirm that the application has been received, let alone that it's being processed or approved. And so I'm bringing this to your attention because if we want to get more electrification, if the permitting process department is taking this long to respond to people, it's going to slow things down. Some people who are not as motivated may decide not to do the work.
You know, is this for, what's the rebate for?
Or a home charger for my EV.
I know, I can't speak to that, but I do know that for the other rebate, because we're just going through this now, the owner had to submit. So I'm wondering if that's the problem.
No, this is not, that's at least the information that I got from Clean Cars for All. They said that the contractor
Could do that, could do
should
that.
apply for the permit.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's just been no response at all. And if this is something that's a common occurrence, that's going to slow things down for our efforts to electrify, as well as to be able to qualify for the rebates. So,
For the record, you know, and I didn't ask you in the beginning, could you just state your name for
yes,
the record?
yeah, my name is Lisa Charpentier and I'm a San Jose resident downtown.
How long ago did you attempt to contact San Jose about the solar panel and battery installation?
So it was earlier this week when I spoke with Haven for the first time, and then as soon as I spoke with Haven, then either that same day or the next day, I emailed San Jose.
So
That
just
actually
a
may
day
have
or
been
two.
this week. Yeah, I know that people are busy at San Jose Clean Energy, but I just feel like we need to have some guidance
I
before
think you
we.
missed the story. Is there a call, so is that questions about solar installation?
Actually, I emailed you, Zach.
Yeah, and Kate got back to you today, right?
I didn't
Yeah,
see.
she sent the email today. Maybe yesterday. We could talk, I don't know if we need a full commission on this, we can talk later.
Yeah, I just thought that these kind of, so some of the other things that I brought up were in addition to what I emailed you. But I just think it's important that people know about this because there have been far too many people who've signed contracts that have gotten themselves into trouble. And I don't know enough about it. I did a lot of research and I feel comfortable with even And I felt comfortable with them until I got the contract. And the contract is what worried me. It was very much geared towards benefit of Haven and much less so for the benefit of the customer.
Well, Lisa, thank you for your comments. We should probably move on, but thanks.
Thank you.
And I hope that, you know, if I can tell, San Jose Clean Energy is going to work with you. So, but thank you for that. It's really good to know. Let's move on to the consent calendar. And you have the minutes for September 18th and the minutes for October 7th. So let's go through September 18th meeting first and review that. Are there any, and I think that, Ruth, is that your
Yeah, I'm
correction?
sorry, yeah, I thought you had,
That's okay.
yeah, so I'll let them. Okay.
Are there any other corrections to the September 18th minutes? If not, could we have a motion to accept the minutes with the adjustment that needs to be made?
I move.
Second.
And we have a motion by Victor, and I'm sorry, who seconded? And Glenn seconded. Could we have a vote to approve the minutes as adjusted? All in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed? None, so motion passes. Now let's move on to October 7th minutes. And are there any corrections to those minutes that anyone is aware of? If not, I think we can just, we can approve the consent calendar for the 7th. Why don't we just go ahead and do a motion so it's standardized with the other?
Second.
Glenn is moving to accept the minutes, and who's seconding? Victor? I've got the team going there. All right, and then Victor second. All those in favor of the motion to accept as sent to you, all in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion is accepted. All right. So moving on to reports and information only. And I guess Sina is on Zoom. And am I right, Sina, you're going to talk to us about the ULI grant?
Yes, yes. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sina Shenis, for the record. Can anybody hear me?
I think so.
Okay. For the record, my name is Sina Shenis. I'm an employee with the city. I got some interesting news that's directly relevant to this group. So as you may know,
You lost you.
is there some audio issues?
Okay. I don't know if we can turn up the volume, so. I don't know.
Yours?
Yeah.
But I don't know if we can turn up the volume.
Sina, talk really loud. Yeah.
Okay. How's this?
I see you.
Is that better?
Anybody else know what he's trying to say?
Is that touch screen? There, hit audio.
That's just a mute option.
Yeah, there's no volume.
But that would mute it.
Say something.
Mute,
Test 1, 2. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Is that better?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. I'll start over from the top. So my name is Sina Shenis. I'm with San Jose Clean Energy. So this item here, ULI grant for CARP, Climate Adaptation and Resilience Plan, but CARP for short. So as you may know or have heard, the city's developing the Climate Adaptation and Resilience Plan. In this CARP, it's a citywide framework. It addresses things like heat, flooding, air quality, all through community-driven strategies. Now, to strengthen this effort, we've been selected for what you see on the board here, Urban Land Institute, or ULI, Technical Assistance Panel, or TAP, grant. So 2 acronyms, ULI, TAP, grant.
Are you
This is
sharing?
a 2-day workshop that brings in outside experts to help refine the CARP. That includes CARP priorities,
No, this is just,
partnerships,
yeah, an introduction. Go
and
ahead.
implementation. Oh, okay. So anyways, why this concerns all you guys, the TAP's going to be taking place March 18th to 19th, and they wanted to present to an audience. I work with Anne. I know Anne works relatively closely with these CAC meetings. And I thought I figured it'd be a good idea that they present their findings at one of the CAC meetings. So March 19th, a portion will be dedicated, and it's an opportunity for any member, any CAC member or partner to share insight or be involved or interviewed. So I mentioned this is a 2-day workshop. 1 day is going to be full of interviews. So if you have a burning interest or desire to be involved on CARP implementation, or you have best practices or potentially just some ideas, there is an opportunity to be interviewed for this 2-day workshop. So if you're interested, please email me, and I'll put my email in the chat. And I could perhaps give you my email, Karen, and you could send that out. But the second day of this 2-day workshop will be a presentation that will take up part of this upcoming CAC meeting on March 19th. And it's a panel that includes experts in resilience, urban design, and sustainability. So if you want to be interviewed or you want to be involved in some way prior to all this, just let me know. Otherwise, March 19th, we'll be having a presentation on some of the stuff that I do.
Sina, could you send out the agenda for the 2 days so people can get the overview of what's happening, when and what, and in what days?
Absolutely, yeah.
Of March, but yeah.
It's agendized, not agendized yet then.
Yeah, so we're gonna be bringing an amended work plan to TME for approval to include this on the March agenda. But just because there's an opportunity for additional interviews, I thought it would be good for Sina to introduce a little bit and let you all know that this will be coming, and there'll be opportunities for at a CAC meeting, but then separately. We just can't have obviously a quorum's amount of people, but if people are interested in being interviewed separately, then that's an additional opportunity for participants.
So Sina, and what exactly comprises the interviews? What are those going to be about?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, so the interviews are very open-ended. I mean, is anyone familiar with the Urban Land Institute?
Yeah.
It's pretty quiet in the room. Okay, so
Yes.
yeah, ULI, it's a panel it's just full of experts. This is the first time I'm involved with ULI. This panel, they know what they're doing. The interviews are intended to help fix a problem. And the scope that I selected is, how are we going to implement CARP? How are we going to implement it effectively? Part of the 2-day workshop is doing a site visit. We chose Alviso because it's susceptible to flooding. And it's just an opportunity to, share your voice. If you're a representative of a community organization, it's an opportunity to make sure your voice is heard and help shape the report that ULI creates out of this. So once this 2-day workshop's complete, they basically compile all the interviews and put together a very dense report, almost like everyone knows the Climate Smart Plan, right? It's going to be a dense report, and they're going to just take what you guys say in the interviews and kind of come back to us, come back to Climate Smart and say, hey, this is how we think CARP can be implemented and implemented successfully. But that was a long answer. Hopefully that gave more context.
Yeah, thank you. Are there any other
Okay.
questions for Sina? I guess thank you, Sina, very much. Looking forward to that. I guess let's move on to the Climate Smart 6-month look ahead.
Thanks, Sina.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. So Ann, do you want to go
Sure.
ahead and
Yeah,
take over for that?
6-month look ahead. I will note, so we did just update this the other day with, I know Zach had some updates for San Jose Clean Energy dates. We also got dates for the Planning Commission and when the setback adjustment will be brought to City Council in December. And then I did also see today that this notice of funding opportunity for the Zero Waste Innovations Grant is live now. So I think they are accepting applications for that. So that I can also update on here. But yeah, I don't know if anybody has any questions about anything specific on here, but this March 19th date, commission date, is already one of our set dates for next year, but that's where Sina would be bringing some of the ULI work for the CARP implementation. So that's when that would happen. And yeah.
Question on the November 19th, the planning commission. This is presenting the setback proposal to the commission or
To the-
informing or just informing them.
I don't know if, okay.
Sorry, should I?
Yeah.
Sanita Gosha, I'm supervising planner at the planning department. I work with Aparna, who has presented the ordinance to you 2 months ago, and Ruth usually attends this meeting, who is my supervisor. So this whole packet of ordinance is going to go up for adoption. The first step is to go into planning commission for public hearing. So that's
So
the
that's-
November 19th
okay.
hearing.
So it's a public hearing.
Yes, and the planning commission recommends, provides their recommendation to the city council, which is the city council date of December 16th.
December 16th?
Yeah.
Okay, I see. Okay. Is there wording available
So
for the,
yes, so I
Good idea.
believe in about a week, the staff report and the draft ordinance, everything will be uploaded, it will be available publicly. You'll be able to,
and this is just phase 1, right? So-called
Yes.
phase 1.
yes. And I don't think there is a date for phase 2.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Any other comments about the 6-month look ahead?
Zach, did you have a comment?
I was only gonna say that the IRP date, the integrated resource plan, that due date is now officially May 6th or something.
Oh, this one down here?
Yes.
Okay.
And so that's why we'll be probably there in January and March with that IRP.
Okay, great. Any other comments?
So just clarification, December 16th, city council will vote.
Yes.
Or, okay. It'll be presented and then we'll vote.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, well, let's move on.
I actually have one last thing before we move on.
Okay.
The Silicon Valley Youth Climate Action, Climate Smart Video Contest, that actually just closed for submissions. We got, I think, 23-ish videos, if I'm correct. So we're really excited. We had a really great turnout. The judging panel is going to start now, but January 24th is when we're going to do a big screening event. So we'd love to have commissioners come out and support everything if possible. As soon as we're going to create like an Eventbrite link and everything, so I can definitely send that out to her.
Where will that be held?
We are going to have it in council chambers, actually.
Okay.
You said January 24th.
January 24th, yes.
Let's send out some.
Yeah, I'll send out when we're going to have like a registration. or I think Silicon Valley Youth Climate Action is gonna be organizing the link and everything, so they'll send it to us.
Okay, let's move on to old business. And that would be from Stephen and Scott, and I don't think.
No, I think they weren't gonna attend, they just provided
Oh.
the update on the letters in here, just as context for if there was any discussion or follow-up, but they weren't planning to attend, they didn't really have any to add to it. But the letters were just for information purposes as a follow-up, and if there was anything to bring back to them, if there was discussion that could be had by the commission or anything like that, I can relay that.
Okay. I had a number of small comments, but I think rather than running through them now, and if this is all right, I'll just send them to you.
Okay.
Or send them maybe to Steve and Scott directly, with the CC on with you, so you have it.
Yeah, I mean, if it's, just questions that you had in particular, but it wasn't like for an action by the commission.
Right. Does anyone else have questions on these letters? Any thoughts about them? Oh, we're good? Okay. All right. Moving along quickly here. All right. Well, that is, Macklin, why don't we? Yeah, even though it's really for Steve and, or for Scott more than anything, but Anne should hear what we're thinking too. Look, as a backdrop, as you recall, a meeting or two ago, I had brought up the issue around the commission being more active in analyzing and making comment to the commission, but also to San Jose Clean Energy about the relevant statewide legislation that was coming through. And, you and I traded letters or emails back and forth a little bit. So I know in the beginning, that first time we talked, Macklin actually took me aside and said, gee, I'm really interested in that. And I had shared with Macklin that the issue is, Scott and you and Steve, we never really got together at that level to talk about what do we want to suggest we do about the commission's involvement in legislation. And I know that an ad hoc committee, would require staff time to support us. So, but then you or one of us brought up that could we just, I think it was you, Ann, that could, it's also possible for an individual or maybe individuals separately to simply track with it, work with Steve and Scott and track with it and bring our thoughts to the commission. Have you and Scott talked any further about that? And I know that Macklin's still very interested. And I know, Macklin, please share what you're thinking too. Okay.
Doing it individually is fine, but I would have to at least engage with Anne, Karen a little bit to understand how exactly to go about doing it. So that would require us to be working together, and that would fall under some sort of ad hoc.
Yeah, so if somebody just sort of wanted it to be their pet project without like a formal commission recommendation to do it, you can certainly go on your own and research, and you would report back like basically as reports and information only. And then if the commission wanted to develop an ad hoc or move that something be brought and agendized formally at like the next meeting, that could be done that way. If it wanted to be more formalized, then we would have to take a vote, create an ad hoc, and then there would be staff time involved, and then it would also be, it can't exceed 6 months. There's a time limit that could be put on it. And then another option that we discussed was creating like a formal position, like chair, vice chair, something like that. That we would have to bring to the Transportation Environment Committee as an amendment to our bylaws, which would happen at the end of the fiscal year. So that's an option as well, but basically if we would have to wait until like June when we bring the work plan, the annual report, and the bylaws at that point.
Is it possible to work at separately, but at the same time have this maybe initial meeting where we're maybe meeting with Scott and Steve, where Macklin, myself, and maybe whoever, anyone else that wants to really get deeply involved in legislation at the state level can meet with them, but it not be an ad hoc committee, just like the first time. Think of it as a training session. Is that possible?
I'm just gonna like put on my fake attorney's hat here and say, the general recommendation is that you don't operate outside of public discussions for anything that's related to the commission. That said, like, if you aren't telling us you're doing it, we're not gonna know. But you know, you're the ones who are at risk. If something was to get challenged legally, you are the ones that have agreed to serve in this role. And if something were to happen and somebody were to challenge it, you would be the ones at risk. So it's sort of, I mean,
And the risk is they would ask you to undo what you said.
so if you,
So,
Well,
if you want to ask our permission, my general consensus would be the city would not recommend that. But I'm
yeah, picture, yeah.
well, why not start it out as an ad hoc and let you all sort of see what might make sense to go forward? I don't see, that gives you a platform to speak. And I know we worry about imposing on the staff, but our job is to ask questions and probe and do things. So this is the city's rule that's just come in a year ago. It's never been applied before, having someone there. That's the city's problem to monitor an ad hoc, in my personal start view. And it seems like a good idea. I've seen lots of interest and engagement in sort of legislative activities and across that. And I would certainly support Macklin and Karen and anyone else sort of thinking this through, trying it out, and then maybe coming back and saying, we can't have a standing committee until a year from now when we put it on the plan and talk to the treasurer. But at least we know that's what we might want to do. And the best way to start that, I think, might be like that.
I totally agree with you because I think it's really important. It's an essential aspect of what our mission is to understand what's happening at the state level and what we agree with and not agree with, and even bringing up bills that may not be considered as important, but that we feel might be. So then I guess we could start the ad hoc committee today by a motion. Is there a problem?
No.
I think it has to be formally agendized.
Okay,
So
so
we
we'll
could bring it
agendize
at
it for
January
January.
meeting.
Okay.
And then I
Yeah,
have a
Ruth.
comment, and then just so Mac knows that the commission cannot send letters to the state.
Right.
Only, well, for regulatory, my understanding is for regulatory, I think San Jose Clean Energy can, and for legislative, it has to be the city council. But I don't know, that's what Scott told me a while ago. I don't know if that's
So
still
the
correct.
letters here don't have any council member on them, but they still they go through, they're
Maybe
looked at
that's
by, and approved by the city
There's
council.
a council, essentially a work plan, like a directive that council gives, where it sort of frames out, these are the essential framework of legislative things that we support and advocate for. And then it's sort of distributed out to the departments. And so that's where Stephen and Scott work to advocate for it. Am I essentially saying that correctly, Zach? And they basically.
So we're
advocate on behalf.
allowed to write letters of support that are consistent with the council's annual legislative program.
Oh, okay.
It's an 80-page document, it's for apple pie, babies, it's a pretty broad agenda, but
Okay, well, that's good to know. Well, then we'll follow up and get that agendized on the January meeting.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Well, that was a good discussion. Thanks, not going to bring that up. So just to wrap it up, I think I asked about this, but are there any comments about these letters in any fashion? No.
I guess I just have one last question on this. Is San Jose Clean Energy tasked with sending letters from state legislation, not only that is related directly to its work in renewable energy, but in climate topics more generally?
Have they ever done anything for climate smart broader? I don't think so.
So now that climate smart is part of energy.
Yeah, I guess now it might happen.
Worrying with right.
Yeah.
Great question. Broadens it. But we should see that 80-page document that you were talking about. When is that released on a yearly basis?
I mean, there's a discussion at city council, so we can check when that happens, but it's right about now,
Oh, okay.
getting ready for the next year.
Yeah, okay. Okay, great. All right. I'll follow up with you, Macklin and I will follow up with you on that then.
Yeah, and I'm sure Stephen and Scott would know when it's going to council and another schedule will happen, so maybe know to ask them.
Okay. Well, that was actually old business, so now let's move on to new business. I don't think we need a motion for what we talked about. We're just chatting, right? There's no motion that's needed. What I'm going to ask, mention, and I think it only applies to you, Lisa, actually, is that as we move forward, I'm trying to be a little more rigorous in my organization. So I'm going to have quite often we have comments, and the commissioners, jump in with questions, which is great. So I'm going to have the commissioners sort of do their initial round of questions, and I'll ask if there are any public, if you have any thoughts. So sort of when to chime in. So the next item A for new business is the introduction to the building performance ordinance. And that's Jenna and Mitchell.
Can you stand up here? Yeah. Or you can have my seat. Yeah.
Because the slides are gonna be here.
Yeah.
Yes, Mitchell, come in.
Yeah, Mitchell.
I'm just gonna follow up here.
Well, hopefully I'm not blocking it.
We can see over at least.
Yeah, hello, everyone. My name is Jenna. I'm an environmental services specialist with the Energy Department, Climate Smart, and I lead the implementation of the City of San Jose's Building Performance Ordinance.
Everyone, I'm Mitchell Riggs. I am a graduate student intern at the City of San Jose. I've been working with Jen on the ordinance for the last year and a half as well.
All right. So yeah, we're gonna do an overview of the building performance ordinance. And so it was inspired and built on California Assembly Bill 802, which is the statewide version of the San Jose Building Performance Ordinance. San Jose City Council voted to adopt the BPO in December 2018, and the first compliance deadline was May 1st, 2019. The building performance ordinance covers energy and water and requires the annual benchmarking of the previous calendar year's utility data. So essentially, properties that have to comply with the building performance ordinance annually have to report their previous calendar year's energy and water data to us at the city. They do it through Energy Star Portfolio Manager. That's where they log their energy and water data from the previous calendar year. The ordinance applies to city-owned buildings that are 15,000 square feet and above, and privately owned commercial and multifamily buildings that are 20,000 square feet and above. And about
right now, there's about 1,800 properties in San Jose that have to comply with this ordinance. So annually, they're submitting their data by May 1st. The reporting season opens March 1st. And then the other annual component is every property that is subject to the ordinance has to pay a $150 invoice. And this invoice goes towards staffing the program and the resources that go behind running it. The other component of the building performance ordinance is called beyond benchmarking. Beyond benchmarking is an every 5-year requirement for properties. And it began, the first year of implementation for it was in 2023. And in annual groups, building owners are required to demonstrate either satisfactory building energy and water efficiency or undergo efficiency improvement projects. Not all 1,800 properties are going at the same time. We broke it up into subgroups based off of a property's gross floor area and the last digit of their assessor parcel number. This was done just for easier implementation purposes, and we had the big buildings go first. And like I mentioned, it's an every 5-year requirement for properties. So to go into beyond benchmarking a bit more, there's the performance pathway or the improvement pathway. So a building will achieve the performance pathway if they meet certain ordinance outlined efficiency metrics for energy and water. If they don't, then they go down the improvement pathway where I'll go into these pathways a bit more specifically later. And then energy and water are treated separately. So a property could meet the performance metrics for energy, but have to do the improvement pathway for water and vice versa. And with beyond benchmarking, they have to hire a third-party professional to help them comply. For the annual benchmarking, they can do that in-house. They don't have to hire a third party unless they want to. And then before I go into more specifics of the ordinance, I just want to highlight, what's the point of BPO? Why was it passed? Building energy use accounts for about 30% of San Jose's greenhouse gas emissions. So the idea behind, passing this ordinance back in 2018 was to help address emissions from the building sector. There's a lot of, and this ordinance addresses existing buildings, not new construction. So it's a great policy tool of addressing existing building stock. There's a lot of cities around the country that have similar laws in place. And as I mentioned previously, there's a statewide version of the law. The BPO also helps meet some of the goals that are set out in Climate Smart San Jose, such as reducing greenhouse gas emissions, water conservation, and electrifying the current building stock. There's also other benefits for building owners, reduce energy and water costs on their bills, increase bottom line of their property, improve tenant comfort, improved indoor air quality and overall public health, increase energy efficiency and conservation, as well as water, and increase demand for jobs in sustainability and efficiency. So now to go into a bit more detail about the aforementioned performance pathway. So these are the efficiency metrics that a property could achieve in order to meet the performance pathway for energy. We don't make new properties comply with beyond benchmarking if they have less than 5 years of occupancy from being built. Because as I mentioned, kind of the point of this ordinance is to address existing buildings. And so new buildings don't tend to have enough historical utility data to warrant beyond benchmarking quite yet. But one of the ways they can achieve the performance pathway for energy is having a LEED existing building operations and maintenance certification. Or they've achieved at least one of the following for at least 2 of the 3 years preceding their compliance due date. So for example, properties that are complying this year for beyond benchmarking in 2025, if in the past few years, at least 2 of the years, they had an Energy Star score of 75 or greater, they improved their Energy Star score by 15 points or more from their baseline year. And their baseline year is the first year they have complete utility data reported to us for the last time they did beyond benchmarking, so 5 years ago. They have a weather normalized site energy use intensity that is 25% below the calculated mean for that property type, or they've improved their own weather normalized site BUI by at least 15% from their baseline year. Then we have water, the water performance metrics. Once again, if they're in a building, they don't have to do beyond benchmarking. They have a US EPA water score of 75 or above, have improved their US EPA water score. They have a water use intensity that is 25% below the locally calculated mean for that property type, or they've improved their own water use intensities score by at least 15%. The improvement pathway, so this is what a property would do if they hadn't met the efficiency metrics for energy or water. Their options for the improvement pathway are conducting an audit, performing retro commissioning, or adopting efficiency improvement measures. And if they're doing it for energy, they have to adopt 2 efficiency improvement measures. Or for water, then so it's 2 for energy and water. And they can have done any of these 3 options within the last 5 years, and we would count that towards compliance. So if they've, last year implemented some efficiency improvement measures, we would count that. We wouldn't make them do more now. You have this presentation, so if you click on that link, it'll go into the more details of the audit, retro commissioning, efficiency improvement measures. But yeah, quick summary audit is they hire someone to look at the building systems. This is what you could do if you want to improve energy and water efficiency at the building. Retro commissioning is fine tuning the existing systems at the building to make sure they're performing optimally. And then efficiency improvement measures is insulating the pipes, putting aerators on the faucet, installing occupancy sensors in rooms, swapping out for LEDs, stuff like that.
What happens if you have building or a group of, a developer or a group of buildings that just won't comply? What do you do?
Yeah, so when the ordinance was passed, non-compliance fines were written into the law. We've never implemented non-compliance fines. We may do so in the future. But so far, we just send them a lot of emails, mail them letters, and we'll go through our compliance rates later. But I mean, for not doing non-compliance fines, we're pretty proud of our compliance rates without having a financial penalty for not complying at this time.
There's in the start you said there's that assembly bill.
Yeah.
And then there's the San Jose's version of it, which is a bit more stringent.
Yeah.
So do the properties have to do double do they have to do twice the audits, or is it the same?
Yeah.
That applies to both?
Good question. Yeah. Any property that falls under a local benchmarking law, so all the San Jose properties that comply with BPO don't also have to comply with the statewide law, but we report the data we collect to the state. So yeah, the building owners don't have to comply with both, but if they're a building that doesn't fall under a local law, they would have to comply to the state. The state also is different from ours. They only require 50,000 square feet and above for buildings, and they only require energy benchmarking, not water as well. And they don't have any beyond benchmarking. It's just annual reporting for this statewide.
So what happens if they only comply to the the state requirements, not the city.
Well, then they would be out of compliance with us. So normally, yeah, eventually it gets, we get through to them that you have to comply with us, not the state. And we coordinate with the state so that our covered buildings lists are not, duplicated.
If the building is being used for some kind of manufacturing or industrial processes there, how do you handle that? I mean, if they're using a lot of water flow, I assume you're only looking at, you're not looking at the manufacturing portion of their efficiency, you're only looking at the kind of occupancy, head count and stuff, is that right?
Yeah, so when this ordinance was passed, they decided to exempt industrial manufacturing properties.
So these are mostly offices, commercial apartments, is
Yeah.
that right? And then city buildings that are.
Yeah. So anything that's zoned like heavy or light industrial is no questions asked exempt. Other zoning types, we require them to show that over 50% of their gross floor area is dedicated to manufacturing purposes or controlled scientific experiments. We have our own opinions about that exemption. We're on the implementation side, but it is, I think, in this type of policy, it is harder to require those kinds of property types to comply. Because, they tend to, one of the reasons I've heard is it's really hard for them to improve their energy and water efficiency, because they use so much and, so it's common for other cities to also exempt that kind of property type. I think Denver found a way to include them. Like it's not the norm that property type is included.
Data center would be exempt.
We do have some data centers that comply. It's not, we treat some exemptions on a case by case basis. So we do have some data centers that comply, but we also exempt some of them depending on the documentation.
That makes sense. It cannot be the same
Yeah,
benchmark.
it cannot be.
It must be something else. There is something.
But yeah, just to keep things moving, like I said, they have to work with a third party to comply with beyond benchmarking. Performance pathway, they're hiring someone to do a data verification check to essentially sign off on the data they've been annually benchmarking over the years to confirm it's accurate. For improvement pathway, they're hiring someone to do the audit, retro commissioning, or efficiency improvement measures.
Joe, do you evaluate those third-party providers and have a list, and then they have to choose from are they approved by you, and then therefore they have to choose an acceptable third party? Or?
Yeah, so in the ordinance, there's language of what's considered a qualified third-party service provider. They have to have certain certifications. For example, a licensed engineer in California, professional engineer, licensed in California, certified energy manager. There's all kinds of certifications they can have. For the improvement pathway, they also have to, the company has to show proof of San Jose business registration. And yeah, they can't perform their normal job duties at the property. There's all different requirements. But yeah, I've linked it at the, it's on our Beyond Benchmarking webpage, but we have a list of verified third parties that, the covered buildings can pick from, but they don't, and our list is really long. They don't have to pick from that list, but the company they hire or the individual has to show us that they're certified, and then you can go to the next slide, just some final things to note. We already talked about exemptions. We have exemptions. We have, what's buildings that don't have to comply at all with the law. But we also have annual exemptions that they can apply for annually. For example, if they're vacant or if they're, under financial stress. We have or they didn't have utility services hooked up for at least 30 days for the previous calendar year. So we have annual exemptions. We also offer extensions, 60 and 180 days, so they have more time to pass May 1st to comply. We have a pending project underway status for beyond benchmarking, which gives properties even more time to comply if they need to. I already talked about non-compliance fines, and the, list of qualified service providers. But the final thing I'll mention, in this, space of benchmarking and beyond benchmarking laws, you'll start to hear, a building performance standard policy, thrown around a lot. It's a great policy model that's, gaining traction all across the country, for addressing existing buildings and making them more energy and water efficient and reducing, their greenhouse gas emissions. I do want to note that San Jose, we do not have a building performance standard policy, because a BPS actually, is stricter in that it requires the property to hit certain efficiency metrics, over a period of time. So, for example, within 5 years, you need to reduce your EUI by 15% or reduce your, emissions by a certain amount. Whereas, for beyond benchmarking, while that's kind of the intent, theoretically, a property could just do an audit every 5 years and they don't have to implement the recommendations in the audit. But we hope that they might want to do that because, maybe over the next 5 years, they can implement some of the recommendations in the audit and then hit the performance metrics 5 years later. But that's just an important distinction. We're maybe thinking and talking about implementing a BPS in San Jose at some point, but we'll see. And then, I'll hand it over to Mitchell.
Yeah, so I'm just going to go over some of the numbers we've collected over the years that this program has been around. With having the program around for about 7 years, we've collected quite a bit of data, and it's kind of a good practice for us that we've been going over the last year-ish, kind of reviewing our data, seeing where a program is and comparing it to kind of programs around the country and the state. So starting off, we just have our kind of compliance rates. Start off low in the beginning as kind of expected with the new program, but then really shot up in the last few years. We've been hovering around the mid 80%. We had our all-time high in 2023 at 88%. This is for annual benchmarking. And just kind of for context, the state's requirements, they hover around a 50% compliance rate. I believe Berkeley's around a 60% normally. San Francisco's around a 70%. So we're really proud of our compliance rates because they are doing much better than the state and other cities that are kind of similar size to us. As Jenna mentioned, beyond benchmarking didn't start till 2023, so we're still kind of in the early stages of understanding it. We had a pretty high compliance rate in 2023 for it being the first year of implementation of this. It's gone down a little bit. However, that wasn't super unexpected because in our first year, we were only requiring very large buildings. That first cohort were only 50,000 square feet and above, which are typically buildings that have a little bit more money, have a little bit more bandwidth, maybe even like a sustainability person on site to kind of be able to take hold of this. But we're seeing pretty good gains in our beyond benchmarking so far. It's not something that's easily comparable to any other like state or city requirements just because there's not really any out there. I mean, there's like very small ones, but it's something that we're really working on. And the 56% number is kind of it's a so far estimate. We just had our November 1st, which is our latest extension deadline, just closed. And so we are expecting that number to go up a bit as kind of the stragglers kind of fall in.
Yeah, as of today, that's 60% now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you are right. Yeah.
4% in like the week and a half.
But yeah, it since November started, it's gone up 4% already. So
yeah, and especially the beyond benchmark, these percentages can fluctuate a lot because we get submissions year round pretty much, especially because we don't have non-compliance fines. So we accept late submissions and we're happy to have them.
So when the percentage goes down, does that mean now that properties that were previously using less electricity and water are now using more, so they don't want to file the benchmark? Is that what you're thinking about?
Not necessarily. A lot of the reasons that we've seen percentages go down is just like change of management. Sometimes there's so much to do when a building changes hands that a BPO, something like this, can just kind of fall to the wayside. And so we've had kind of that happen where like I've talked to many people just this year that took over the building 2 years ago, had no idea that the previous owner had been doing benchmarking and realizing that it's a new thing to do. I will say about 11% of our buildings have never, ever complied with the ordinance. And so 89% would be like the highest we would get without reaching those who have never complied. And those variety of reasons why people have never complied. It's Jen and I are kind of the two staff on it, so limited staff time and just trying to contact people without good forms of contact. Sometimes letters bounce back and all of that.
Yeah, and I'm sure some people aren't complying because there are no non-compliance fines.
Yes.
That might get some people out of the weeds, but.
Yeah, and non-compliance fines are something that we might consider in the future. I know Berkeley, for the first time this year, is implementing non-compliance fines for their programs. So it would be interesting for us to kind of look at and see how their percentages kind of go up, how it affects them with their non-compliance fines. But I know we did have some increase. Jen had mentioned the $150 benchmarking fee. The amount of people paying that slightly increased when we started charging interest a couple of years ago, but it wasn't a ton. Yeah, we go to the next. And so this is just kind of a look over the years of energy use and water use intensity. That top blue line, that's energy use intensity. So just energy use intensity is the energy use divided by the square footage of the building. And so it kind of is a good way to look at, we're not penalizing buildings for being big. Bigger buildings are going to use more energy. And just kind of what we've seen from our buildings, we saw decreases in the first few years, and then it kind of increased and stabilized, which is pretty normal for a BPO. A lot of this has to do with the fact that people are now actually seeing their energy use for the first time as they're doing this benchmarking and are being like, oh, how are ways I can reduce that? And they do these simple tasks to reduce them and then kind of hit the point where the simple tasks have been done and it's kind of stabilized and set off. And so that's kind of the trend we've been seeing with energy use. Yes.
The energy use number, it's a BTU. This includes electric and gas.
Yeah. So it's it's kBTU. So it's a combination of natural gas and electricity. And then the bottom line is the water. This one's really interesting because we have pretty much always seen a decrease in water use every single year. We think this also has a lot to do with just being in California and droughts being on the mind and water conservation kind of being a part of the culture of California. We have seen an increase in last year's water use intensity. And so this is kind of something to monitor. Is this a trend of it going up? Is it going to kind of stabilize like the energy use intensity is? But we don't have enough data to kind of see if this is just an outlier year or what kind of has happened in 2024 for water use. And then greenhouse gas emissions, like Jenna said, the point of this is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. That top blue line is total greenhouse gas emissions. Then the bottom three are just the greenhouse gas emissions from different sectors. So it's total, and then natural gas, electricity, and then water at the very bottom. We've seen overall decrease in greenhouse gas emissions, large decreases in the first few years, and then kind of some slight decreases. And then we did see an increase in greenhouse gas emissions this year. That was mainly from electricity greenhouse gas emissions increasing. And I see, a question.
Yeah, between 2018 and 2020, I see electricity emissions go down a lot. That makes sense from San Jose Clean Energy, renewable. But why did natural gas emissions go down by so much in that time too?
So natural gas emissions went down because usage went down. So that there's really only one factor coming in the natural gas emissions because the emissions factor of natural gas doesn't really change over the years. So that's all from just usage. And so just our buildings were using less in years following.
Is that because each building was using less per building, or more buildings were using none at all?
It was a combination of both. It has more to do with more buildings using less than buildings switching over to 100%. Our numbers of buildings who are fully electric have gone up, but like not at the same rate in which natural gas usage is decreasing. Yeah.
The mix of buildings is changing year to year too, right?
Yes, the mix of buildings is slightly changing. It's not like a huge.
That's not explaining that you're getting these big things that aren't using natural gas.
Yeah,
I'm impressed with that. I mean, that is massive reduction in natural gas. If that were representative of the whole building fleet, that would be a massive reduction in greenhouse gases.
Yeah, and it is a pretty sizable reduction in greenhouse gases. We're pretty happy with seeing that. I mean, we've seen part of it too was we saw just a decrease in natural gas during COVID because less people were, in buildings and most people stayed at home. And especially because this ordinance doesn't cover single family homes, right? We don't have the data from that. But we are seeing, I mean, there are more and more buildings becoming fully electric and no natural gas.
Do you have data on the same, a building that converted what it was before when it was running on gas, and then?
For its energy use intensity?
Yeah.
I have estimates.
Energy or emissions, yeah.
I have estimates that kind of will hopefully be brought to this group back in March. That data is not finalized. I don't know.
You mean at a single building level or like overall?
Well, if you have a few buildings, I mean, more than one building, but a building, buildings, looking at buildings that converted.
We have a lot
they were
of case
before
studies.
and after.
Yeah, we have that. It's not 100% finalized, but that is data that actually will be presented to this group at some point in early 2026.
Pretty good.
But yeah, so it just kind of what we were looking at is seeing the greenhouse gas emissions decreased a lot, have kind of stabilized. Is that because we've kind of hit the peak that we can with a benchmarking ordinance? Do we need to transition to a BPS? And just how well is the program kind of working? And then,
By the way, if you do that analysis later, on buildings that converted, you might want to, if you know the kilowatt hours, after, and the therms before, you also can get an estimate on cost.
Yeah. Yep.
Operating cost changes. So
yep,
I have to try to get that.
Yeah, I definitely have that as well.
Just to follow up on what Mitchell kind of introduced, just since we're on the topic. We were asked specifically by Councilmember Mulcahy to report to council or T&E about the building performance ordinance and how it's been doing, successes, like areas for improvement. So that we're going in spring of 2026. So this is another item that we're going to bring an amended work plan to T&E, and on that same March date that Sina introduced earlier, we're also planning on coming back with some more in-depth analysis of the building performance ordinance and presenting that this time. So this is kind of setting the stage for.
And recommendations at that time that we might have, because we still haven't fully decided, like, is BPS the answer, or is tweaking the policy in another way for it to be more effective the answer?
Yeah, because I mean, what we're seeing here is we had really big gains at the beginning of the program, and it's kind of leveled off recently, and so just kind of a chance to reevaluate, look at the direction the program is going. Yes.
Do you have an estimate if in a hypothetical scenario where compliance does go to 100? Do you have an estimate of how those numbers might look like, given what kind of properties are not complying right now?
Yes. That is also something that hopefully will be coming to that teeny meeting. The issue, I'll just say the issues that I've been having with that specific piece of the analysis is the building types. We get that from the buildings submitting data to us. When they submit their annual energy and water, they select what type of building type they are. And that's like we compare data centers to data centers, office spaces to office spaces. And so the buildings that have never submitted anything to us, we know what their zoning is, but we don't 100% know what their property property type is. And so that's kind of some difficulties there of like figuring out the 100%.
And a lot of the data analysis that Mitchell does, like, it's only as good as the data that property owners submit to
Yeah.
us. And there's a lot of data checks along the way to try to get the most accurate data as possible, but, you know, we might be submitting wrong data, so.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, if they're not putting the correct numbers in from their bills, like it is as good as we have. But and then I think I just had a couple more that were just a little bit more about beyond benchmarking. Started doing some beyond benchmarking analysis now that we're kind of into our third year and just seeing how people are complying with beyond benchmarking. So I'll start with the top pie chart. So this is the buildings that how they're complying with beyond benchmarking. So about half of our buildings were able to go down the performance pathway for both energy and water. So that's pretty good. We're seeing a lot of these buildings are hitting those efficiency metrics that were kind of laid out in the ordinance. And then we're seeing about 24% of our buildings go down the efficiency or the performance pathway for one and the improvement pathway for the other. And then the final 26% are going down the improvement pathway for both energy and water. So we are seeing a majority of the submissions we're getting are performance pathways. And then kind of breaking down the improvement pathway, what we're seeing a little bit is overwhelmingly people are submitting audits when they are going down the improvement pathway. Audits are kind of the easiest thing to do from the buildings side perspective. They just have someone come out for one day, do an inspection, and then the auditor does all kind of the work. The hope is that once buildings start, you know, it's their second time doing their beyond benchmarking, this number is going to go down because they're going to be taking what they learned from that audit and actually implementing it into their buildings. But that is, you know, we won't have our first batch of buildings doing their second round of beyond benchmarking until 2028, so we won't have that information until then.
Audits tends to be the most expensive pathway too.
Yes, and audits are the only ones where the buildings don't get any direct money saved unless they actually implement what's in the audits, right? Like if they're doing retro commissions, they'll see savings because their programs are running or their systems are running more efficiently. If they're doing efficiency improvement measures, they'll see decreases in electricity and gas usage and water use. So it's kind of an interesting one, but it's something that we've been working on as messaging too, of like trying to tell buildings that like, hey, you know, it could be as easy as replacing your lights with LEDs and using occupancy sensors, and you don't just have to go down the audit immediately.
This is for which year?
This is for every single submission that has been sent to us over the 3 years
2023, 2024.
in 2025. Yeah.
Beyond benchmarking.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is all 3 years. And it stayed the same. There's no like real change from year to year. It's all around 90% for audits. All
So
3
everybody
years.
just did audits.
And then I think there was just one more. Yeah. And then kind of more on that pathway. So Energy Star certification is when a building has an Energy Star score of 75 or higher. Jen had mentioned that's one of the ways a building can go down the performance pathway. Energy Star score is calculated by the EPA. It's on a building's Energy Star portfolio manager account. It takes into consideration occupancy, energy use, the type of building it is. And it's just it's a good way for us to see where our buildings are compared to kind of the national mean, the national median. And so we're sitting at, in 2024, almost 70% of our total building stock qualifies for an Energy Star certification. And I will mention not every single property type can get an Energy Star score. I don't know what the EPA sets the level at, but there has to be a certain amount of buildings within like a certain property type that have reported to the EPA in order for them to create an Energy Star score for that property type. But we're pretty happy with this. This is a pretty high level, especially because, you know, a building at a 75 or higher, they're in the top 25% of all efficient buildings within the country. And so if 70% of our buildings are in the top 25% of the country, we're pretty happy with that.
energy mix.
Oh, and then, yeah, this was kind of talked about. So our current energy mix right now, I'm pretty sure this is 2023 numbers. Yeah, this is 2023 numbers. 77% of all the energy use was electricity, 23% of all the energy use was natural gas.
How does that compare with other cities, other regions?
I'm working on that. From the state level, it's higher electricity to natural gas at the state level, at least. I don't have very well detailed information for cities, but at the state level, it's higher.
One more slide.
Has the percentage of electricity gone up?
Yes, yeah. So we were in 2018, which was the first year data was submitted. It was, I believe it was at 29% mit, or no, it was, sorry, it was a 68% electricity was what it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the last slide is, links for your reference later. I do want to shout out the city's open data portal. This is a recent thing we finished, but when the ordinance was passed, transparency was supposed to be a big part of it. So all the data that has been submitted annually by covered properties is now, you can see it. Any member of the public can see on the city's open data portal. You'll see the address, you'll see the property's energy use intensity, you'll see their Energy Star score, you'll see their WUI, you'll see their emissions. Once again, it's based off of the data they submit to us, so there's that grain of salt, but yeah, so that data is available. Eventually on our website, we're also going to have an interactive map where you can look up a building, click on it, and you'll see a bunch of metrics. So we're curious to see if this is a kind of a soft form of pressure for buildings, like that they know that their building's data is out there and they see what their, a neighboring building down the street is doing. They might be like, oh, we should get our, Energy Star score up, or we should try to look better if they know that data is out there. We do have exemptions for proprietary information if, some building owners are worried about their data being out there, but they do have to apply for that exemption.
And one thing real quick on the data that's in there, take the greenhouse gas emissions with a grain of salt. That is calculated by the EPA, and the EPA doesn't use city-specific emissions factors. San Jose's emissions factor is, for electricity at least, is significantly cleaner than the state's. And so it uses the state's emissions factor. So the greenhouse gas emissions aren't the most accurate in that.
Well, thank you very much. It was very enlightening, and I appreciate you answering all of our questions. And my final comment is, I can't believe that just two of you are working on this entire program. So congratulations and applause to that. That's really. All right, are there any other questions or thoughts before we move on?
I just have one small question from 2 slides back. The section of the graph that says mix of improvement and performance, is that for buildings that passed the performance pathway, but also elected to take improvement routes?
No, so that's like Jenna had said, buildings, we treat their energy and water separately. So building can go down the performance pathway for energy, but maybe have to go down the improvement for water. And so those are those buildings. So the ones that went down both the performance and the improvement for one or the other.
Yeah, I mean, they did one of each.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I was kind of curious on performance. I'm not sure how you're calculating performance, but is it normalized for our mild climate use?
Yeah, so we use when we're looking at the energy use intensity, we use a weather normalized energy use intensity. Yeah.
Yeah, one quick, is there a reason why you have not implemented, but by you, I mean the city, I guess it's not specifically you, have not implemented some variant of penalty? Is that do you guys find that to be a deterrent toward in terms of like submitting data, or is there other reason why that might be the case?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I think probably, obviously we weren't around when it was passed. So they probably were giving, properties a grace period of, okay, this is a new ordinance. We're not going to implement non-compliance fines for a couple years. And then I presume they just forgot about it. And then the BPO staff just has never pursued it. So, yeah, and I don't know, I don't know how much pushback, I mean, it's written into the law, but I don't know how much pushback there would be at the time if we decide to pursue non-compliance funds or not. But yeah, it's definitely something to think about if we are really wanting to increase compliance rate, if we decide that's the goal. Or if the goal is tweaking the policy to make it more effective for those that are complying.
Given the tapering, of the numbers you see, that's the background of my asking this question, and that's why I was also asking for a theoretical 100%, is the next action worth potential negative PR or other unintended consequences? So, thank you.
Great. Thank you very, very much. I think probably we should move on to, and I know we're gonna hear from these folks next year. So let's move on to item B. The San Jose Clean Energy Bill credits.
Ross, who is on staff, who's our financial planning, is gonna do most of this, but I just wanted to sort of frame a little bit what this is today and what it isn't. So the most important thing we're talking about is a bill credit recommendation that we are bringing to council on December 2nd. But as part of that and how we landed at that recommendation, Ross is going to talk about the state of affairs more broadly for us financially, and then talking about what we see coming in 2026 and get input on that. So as we continue to work our proposals together for the rates proposal in February of next year. So we're going to take input on that, but we're not looking to solve every exact thing about the 2026 rates recommendation today.
Appreciate it. So my name is Ross Silva, and I do financial planning analysis for San Jose Clean Energy. And with the help of many others, both in this room and on San Jose Clean Energy staff, I set rates. Set rates. There'll be a few acronyms throughout the presentation. There's a list of acronyms. I'm happy to, as we go through the slides, I will do my best to spell out what each of these means. So, please stop me as we go through the presentation with questions. Happy to answer them. So go and start off with the stuff. So I have about 10 slides, and we're going to start off by talking about the current state of affairs. What rates are designated customers paid? What rates are PG&E customers paid? We'll also take a look at our financials, our forecasted financials for this calendar year. We'll also talk about milestones, right? In the next 2 months or so, there's going to be several events that impact the bill credit, PG&E's rates, and San Jose Clean Energy's rates. We'll then transition to what our forecast is, what we guess PG&E rates are going to be, and how we may respond to those rates, which includes bill credits. And then we'll double click into those, the structure of the bill credits. We'll also share a little bit of information with you about our decarbonization program for 2025. And then from there, we'll talk about what San Jose Clean Energy's financials could be if everything that we share with you here happens exactly as we planned. And then we'll wrap it up with the bill credit recommendation. All right, so next slide, please. So this slide shows competitive rates. So PG&E's rates are in gold, and our rates, San Jose Clean Energy generates, are in the blue bar, and the PCIA, the power charge and difference adjustment, is the white bar. San Jose Clean Energy customers pay to PG&E the power charge and difference adjustment. So the way to read this graph is in 2024, a PG&E customer would have paid 16 cents per kilowatt hour for their electricity. A San Jose Clean Energy customer would have paid 14.3 cents to San Jose Clean Energy, and they would also pay 1 cent to PG&E. So the San Jose Clean Energy customer would pay 14.3 cents and 1 cent, or 15.3 cents, which would have been less than the PG&E customer. So year on year, both PG&E's rates are coming down, and San Jose Clean Energy's rates plus the PG&E surcharge is coming down. And in both cases, the San Jose Clean Energy customer paid less than the PG&E customer. All right, so we can go to the next slide.
Just to clarify, Russ, that's half the bill, right? That's the generation portion of the bill. There's another 2/3 of the bill.
Absolutely, and all the content in the slides today will be about generation. So despite San Jose Clean Energy charging less year over year, and despite San Jose Clean Energy charging less than PG&E, we expect that we will grow cash. We'll be profitable throughout the year. So in the first 6 months of the year, our net income was $65 million, and we expect to earn positive net income every month through the end of the year. At the end of the year, we expect to earn $93 million of net income in the year. That'll grow our cash reserves to $347 million by the end of the year. So
remind us the targets.
Yeah,
So
so
reserves and for the stabilization fund.
yeah, so the target is to have roughly 100, have at least 180 days of reserves.
The dollar amount.
Yeah, the dollar amount. So it changes because, you know, but I can tell you it's about $1.1 million per day.
For 2025.
And in subsequent slides, we'll tell you what the dollars translate to.
Okay.
So how have we been profitable? So it's been profitable here due to a few things. One is that electricity rates in 2025 are lower than in the past year. It's been a fairly mild summer, right? We haven't had many multi-day heat waves. We haven't had any multi-day heat waves, and that translates to low energy costs in the year. Right? We've also made some money on the, $300 million that we've, interest revenue, $300 million, and there have been some counterparties that have underdelivered or built the power plant later than what was expected, and for that, there's penalties associated with those damages. That's $12 million. So take a moment to see if any questions.
Yeah, I definitely have a question. So I remember 1 or 2 meetings ago, Jan was back here telling us she was looking at very high, like my recollection, she was looking at very high prices for energy in the future for purchases. How do I jive this bottom bullet with those comments?
So, well, one is, this year is this year.
Yeah.
John's looking into the future. So RA indeed is still, it's lower than we expected. It's still 5 times what it was 3 years ago. So it's still really high for California.
See, okay.
Um,
And but that for future,
no, I think so this is what happened in 2025, a little bit of a dip, and we're not exactly sure about next year.
okay. Is it still looking, so is her statement still correct that she was saying RA costs were very high? But they couldn't find RA to buy, so she was sort of the message she was sending us.
I think she was particularly talking about firm clean RA, that is to say, geothermal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Which the PUC tells us to go buy specifically
I see.
in certain quantities. It's really hard to buy something that doesn't exist.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Correction.
For all those ones who are not.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can go to the next slide. So this is a schedule, pricing actions for both PG&E and San Jose Clean Energy. And the schedule starts with a 2026 forecast of rates that PG&E published on October 15th. And it ends with the expectation that they will actually publish their rates on December 31st, right? The day before the rates go into effect. Between that date and this date, there's several milestones in which PG&E will either correct the mistake that they made when they originally published their rates, or publish a update for their forecasted rates. So I think the key milestone that you see here is that we're going to go to council on December 2nd to request approval for bill credits. Earlier on today, about an hour ago, PG&E published their correction. So the ultimate decision about our bill credits will be based on the information that we received earlier on today. And the information that we got is fairly close to the information that is the basis of the presentation. The financials that we're going to show you in the presentation.
Can I ask one other question? To go back to the cost for, low cost for energy. We're all inundated with the news about concern about getting power for data centers in the climate community. But the low energy costs you guys are seeing, I understand that the climate was mild this past summer, but has there not been any significant uptick in data center?
It's
demand?
weird. It's weird. You don't see, it doesn't look, looking at the forward prices for renewables, for RA, for energy, you wouldn't think that the tsunami's coming. It's very weird.
So do you think the prediction of tsunami is wrong or unclear what's going on?
It's unclear what's going on.
Okay.
I mean, I think even if we get 20% of the tsunami, it's still a lot. And that would move the market. And even that you don't see that in the numbers yet.
Is it possible there's enough more generation came on? Brought the prices down.
So I can tell you that I think 3 years ago we had a very high heat event somewhere. There was multiple days where there were multiple occasions where there was plus 180 degrees back. So we did analysis to compare. Hey, like what is the income, the impact from a profitability perspective, right? Not in load, right? Because load does go up, but how much was the impact of prices? And over that particular summer, we paid $20 million just in pricing due to these, I think it was about 12 days of multi-day heat events. So our profitability is very dependent on the summer.
So on that, we also haven't, I mean, if you think about the last 4 years, what moves things, Russia invaded Ukraine. We haven't had one of those in a while. The cold freak out in Texas, well, Texas kind of got an act together. Like we haven't had a big disruption in a while. So I think the people are a little bit lulled into, because something else is coming, right? But I think there's a little bit of, and the other thing is we've had 2, 3 good weather years in a row. Well, have a couple of dry ones in a row and suddenly it's different. But people forget, so, including the markets. Are we gonna keep going?
Yep. So before we do, I want to take a moment to recognize the work that the ad hoc rate committee. So we've met 3 times, and there have been very productive conversations, right? So Vic Macwin, Monty, and Rio have listened to what we've had to say, provided some great feedback, and we'll continue to have meetings throughout the rate setting cycle. So we can go to the next slide. Okay, so there's a few things going on, but I think one of the key takeaways in this slide is that 2026 rates are impacted not, PG&E's 2026 rates and the power charge and difference adjustment, the PCIA, are set not just based on PG&E's expectation of their costs in 2026, but it's also going to be based on their forecast error, right? So when they set their 2025 rates, they produce a forecast of what their costs were going to be. And sometimes forecasts are incorrect. So I'll take a step back. So sometimes their forecasts are incorrect. Their forecast for the renewable portfolio standard, or RECS, was high. So the actual unit price is lower. For resource adequacy, it used to be a blend of these three, and now it's just one number. It's lower year over year. And then energy prices are lower as well. So their PCIA was too low in 2025. I think you saw it was a very small line. It was 0.7%, right? So they undercharged for their PCI. And because they undercharged for their PCI, there's a correction, and that correction is going to kind of move forward in 2026. So rates, you see that over here, right? So this is the forecast. This is a long-term forecast of PCIA. It's fairly low in 2025. Now we expect this correction to take place, and we see the PCIA is going to increase to about 3 cents, whereas in 2025 it was 0.7 cents. We can go on to the next slide. All right, so this table is just like the table I showed you earlier, but I've just added 2026 to the table, right? And key takeaways are that PG&E's rates will come down by almost half, from 15 cents to 8.8 cents year over year. The PCIA, will also more than quadruple from 0.7 cents to 3 cents, right? So the decrease in rates and the increase in PCIA puts downward pressure on San Jose Clean Energy's pricing, because our customers have to pay the PCIA, right? So the bigger this bar is, the lower our bar is going to have to be. So what are we looking at here, right? The expectation, this is the expectation of what a customer will pay over the year.
Over the
calendar year. Right?
That's the approach.
Now, we're not going to change rates on January 1st. We're going to change rates on March 1st. So in this scenario, right, we are targeting to be at parity beginning March 1st. But our rates in January and February will be based on the 2025 schedule. And those rates are higher, right? So over the course of the year, the San Jose Clean Energy customer will pay more than the PG&E customer. Okay. And that's one of the motivating factors for the bill credits. The total difference between the 9.9 cents and the 8.8 cents is roughly $40 million.
Say that again, please.
Difference between the 9.9 cents and then the 8.8 cents is roughly $40 million. Okay, so we can move on to the next slide. So the next slide discusses the structure of the recommended bill credits. The recommendation is to issue bill credits of $25 million. Okay. We considered doing a bill credit that was based on kilowatt hour, but due to technical limitations and the way billing happens, we're not able to do that. So the proposal is to offer a bill credit to residential customers of $40 in January, and small, medium, and large commercial customers of $130 to $3,910 respectively. This calculation is based on average usage of a customer in this customer class. We will not issue, or the plan as of right now is to not issue credits to net energy metering customers. Yes, go ahead.
I remember in the ad hoc, there was a slightly higher bill credit for SJ Cares customers residential. Is that still in this recommendation?
No, we've decided not to recommend
Why was that decision?
that. I guess the idea is that those customers are already getting a 10% discount along with their rates are going down 28% in 2026 and just trying to balance out, all of the factors between money going out the door.
They still get the 40.
They still get the 40.
Curious why you're not giving a bill credit to NEM folks.
Finish the sentence. He's not giving it to those NEM customers which are net generators over the course of 12 months.
They're not consumers.
Oh, okay. Okay, got it. Okay.
They generate more energy than they use. And we pay them for the energy that they generate.
You don't get credit if you haven't debited.
Okay, that helps clarify things.
Okay. Let's see. So in addition to, want to kind of change gears to talk about our decarbonization programs. But does anybody have any questions about the structure of the bill credits, the timing?
Yeah, I didn't clarify. The bill credit is given, like for residential, it's not, you cannot tie it into their consumption.
Correct.
You're doing a fixed.
A fixed for residential.
Every household.
Every household. And then
How about apartments? Like
they're getting the same 40.
I see.
And so, but the split between residential and all of the non-residential altogether, it's about 50-50 in terms of the 25 million. So it's about 12 and a half, and then 12 and a half for all the non-residential.
Does that apply to commercial?
Does what apply?
I mean, a commercial that start 130 or 1,330 or 1,329. And how do I know where my food bank falls?
It depends on what rate schedule they're on. That's the.
Okay. They're 24,000 a year or something.
Sounds like they're.
That's their problem.
Yes, Ruth.
Will the PCI ever go away?
We're working on it. There's some legislative ideas and there's an active proceeding for the PCI that's open for the reform examine. I don't know.
Okay, just curious.
I'm hopeful.
Curious.
As currently legislated, no. As currently written, it's forever.
Then it'll be on fire in two decades and we'll still be paying PCA.
Sorry, let's keep going.
No, I would like it to go away. Changing gears to decarbonization programs. I will show some financials a little bit later on in the presentation about our expected spending in 2026, which will include our decarbonization programs, which we expect to, at this point, we expect to spend $12 million in the year. The calendar year greenhouse gas free in megatons is the expectation of reduction in CO2 gases for these programs over the life of the program. Right? It's not just in that year, I think it's over the life of the program. Taking a step back, in calendar year 2023, based on all the programs that we implemented in that year, for that year, we saved 5 million megatons, which translates to about 1.2% of emissions. And if we were asked, hey, what are your ideas for spending an extra $2 million for the programs team came back to us and said they would increase their spend on the EV incentive program and the multifamily charger incentive.
I'm just curious to kind of confirm, what was your thought process behind the 2 million? Like, is there the sort of infrastructure built up in the programs to say, like, hey, 3 million or 4 million incremental this year? Like, would that theoretically be possible in current status?
Yeah, so I think the answer is one based on execution, right? When Kate of our programs team looked at these different options, this one seemed like the to be one the most easily to execute, but also it has a pretty good ratio of megaton reduction per dollar spent. I also see some tie between, somebody having an electric vehicle and living in a multifamily dwelling that has the ability to charge that vehicle.
So we'll take, I think the question that I'm hearing is, how much bigger do we think we could go in the program's budget, responsibly, effectively? And between now and February, we'll come up with suggestions on that.
Thank you.
Do you have the staff for this now?
For
The
For
12?
for 12, I believe so, Zach. I think, I don't think we have any vacancies on the team. And
You're set to
there's,
spend this now.
what's that?
You're set to spend this.
Yeah.
On to the next slide, unless somebody has any more questions. So if all of the things that we forecasted to happen will happen, do happen, this will be our financials. Now, these financials don't include the bill credit, right? So we've given a few options about bill credits, and the question was, what is your kind of burn rate as it relates to the day's operating expense? That's roughly like 1.05 or so as of the end of 2026. So our revenue at I think the rates we were charging were around 7 cents per kilowatt hour, which translates to $250 million. Included in that is some assumptions about investment, interest on our cash. Our power resources cost of $338 million is slightly lower than 2025. Our other expense spend of $47 million includes the $12 million for programs, and our net income would be negative, right? We can't operate in 2026 profitably at charging 7 cents per kilowatt hour. But fortunately, right, I mentioned that we're going to end 2025 with $300-something million in cash. So that $300-something million minus the $112 million of net income would mean that we ended the year at $271 million of ending cash. If we didn't, issue any bill credits, but we do plan on issuing bill credits, and the recommendation is for a $25 million bill credit, and we'd end 2026 with 233 days. I'll take a moment to, I will eventually talk about some of these levers, but does anybody have any questions about the math?
Just kind of to get clarification, so generally is the purpose of the rate stabilization reserve to address like this exact sort of volatility as the PCA changes every year?
I think so. I think it's the PCIA volatility as well as overall volatility. A significant part of volatility comes in the flavor of our power costs, and then as well as PG&E's rates and the PCIA. So one of the things that we have included, will include in just communication, is the cost to do more, right? If we were, so we were 62, or we are targeting to be 62% renewable in 2025, and these financials are based on the expectation that we will be 62% renewable in 2026. If we wanted to increase the power content to be 1% more renewable, it would cost $2.4 million for the year. If we currently are offering a 10% discount to SK Canada customers, If we wanted to increase that to 11%, it would cost $175,000 for those 10 months, right? And oh, sorry. The RPS GHG free was 1%, 50K, and then the discount to PG&E was 2.4.
The discount on the PGD is off of their number, or is it off of our number? Right now, for the year, that way back says we would be 3.5% higher over the course of the year if we had the $25 million credit. Right. What is the 1%?
Yeah, the 1% is for the period March 1st through December 31st. That's a parity right now. If we were 1% cheaper, as a
word parity,
0% discount.
It's not parity in the sense compared to PG&E for the year.
Just March to December.
So you're saying that from March to December, we will have the same price for PG&E and comparing the SGC cost plus the PCI, those will match?
Yes.
And this will be 1% lower for the March to December period?
Okay, so the 3.5% back on slide 2 or whatever at the beginning, that's purely for the difference between whatever bill credit we have and how much we make over the 2 months that have our rate, our current rates.
Different set of
It's
numbers.
it's all in that. And when you say parity, it's parity starting then. And the bygones leave us 3.5% behind. We being the SJCE, you being me as a customer. All right.
So
All right. We
1%.
had trouble tracking that.
But if we have 1% less here, that will probably change that number 3.5 to something slightly
Yeah,
lower.
it would be something different, but not to be calculated on the fly.
Right.
This is actually a little over my head, but I'm trying to keep up. Well, I have a question that's more about public perception. If, because people don't necessarily really analyze their bills. So if they see the price minus the bill credits over here, but they see the prices are the same or higher for SJCE, do you think that's going to be a problem with the public? Because I listen to next door a little bit, and you do get those people getting, reaching out to all that population of next door saying, I don't like my San Jose clean energy bill. So is that an issue, or am I misunderstanding how this will play out?
I think the press and goodwill that we will get for the bill credit will carry the day. So I just want to remind, so we will be, the memo that we're going to do on the second is bill credit. Why are we doing a bill credit? Well, the PCI is going up January 1st. We won't have had a chance to adjust rates, but we're trying to get ahead of it, and we accumulated reserves. It was a good year in 25. Money for everyone. That's the headline. The headline does not say, we think maybe PG&E might have someday estimates, rates. We don't say all that in the memo in December. So when we come back in March, we're going to say probably we're proposing rates which are at a slight discount to PG&E for the rest of the year. And I think council will say, wow, okay, great. You can lose $100 million and still be a little bit cheaper. Okay, let's do that. So I think the January, February time is going to be sort of just down the memory hole.
And there's year over year, the rates will be
A
going
lot
down
cheaper.
by a lot. And evidently, I heard that the wires part of the rate, which is 2/3, is going down as well. So there's going to be January and February, going to be a time people talking about rates going down. Only people only people who go and look at the website to compare the then current rates between San Jose and PG&E will see that difference.
That difference.
And it'll be staggering. But, you know, but we've got this story which brings, the thing that I still get back and forth, are we gonna be at parity? Will that graphic look even starting in March? Once, or is it gonna be below, subject to whether some choices we make is a recommendation when it comes up in January?
I mean, not to dodge the question, but it depends on where the final PG&E rates land.
Okay. So the business of where we set our rates really is put off until January. You know, we're waiting for final data. It's not an action that happens until January or February, council meeting. As way lead times go, we have a meeting fairly early in January to discuss it. And that's where the whole idea of, well, do we want to sacrifice another 2.4 million of reserves or not to get it lower still or not is on the table.
Oh, okay.
Is that right?
What I think, so you're talking 62 or 63, 64% are renewable. What's the outlook for the greenhouse gas free number?
Oh, for,
Still.
I mean, it depends.
Over 95.
Typical, yeah, okay, typical water year, that kind of thing. I'll go on to something else, I'll come back to it.
Sure. So for 2024, I think we just published our power content label, and I think we're around 65% renewable and in the mid 80s. And in the mid 80s for greenhouse gas free content.
I didn't see that in the 80s.
And the reason for that was that was a year where we got less, the Diablo Canyon, you know, we didn't get as much of that as we used to, and we're still on. It was still a better, anyway, it was still a step down on improved emissions factor year over year. It was like 130 or something like that, down from 150.
But I thought we were 95%, like,
We were.
that's true.
What I just said was because Diablo Canyon, a portion that got taken out, that's a big part of the carbon free.
Yeah, and in terms of 2025, you know, we don't get a lot of the reporting, the numbers until well into 2026. So pretty preliminary in our.
By saying this, I don't want to curb this wonderful discussion, but I just will mention that it's 8:09.
Okay.
So-
Well, thank you for letting me know. The next slide is my last slide. Essentially just summarizes the recommendation, things we've already talked about. $25 million recommendation for bill credit effective January. Residents receive $40. Non-residents receive 3 different tiers. And then NEM customers who produce excess electricity will not.
I would take out that comma, because otherwise you get the Karen's question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the recommendation was on
It's coming, right? You guys are up next?
the agenda.
Yeah.
The agenda.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, that was,
Just like anything from-
you were almost done.
Thanks.
You want to bring up somebody, could you bring up the? Yep. There.
You're right, you've got,
No, but,
Are we going to the next item or can?
well, we can, either way, I mean, I thought we could do the recommendation now.
Yeah, so there's the recommendation and there's the.
And then the ad hoc is gonna be more like just a quick postmortem.
Should we-
The ad hoc is gonna be pretty short.
should we do the ad hoc and then come back to
No,
that?
let's finish this.
Okay,
Darren, can you scroll
alright.
to the last slide on attachment E? That's what you want, right?
Yeah, that's what I want to see. Yeah, not that.
Keep going.
My
It was the last slide on the agenda.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
it's in
on
the agenda.
It's switched to the agenda. It's in the pages split, so got you go to the word version.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why it was like that, but. Yeah, there you go.
All right, and if you can blow it up. I don't know, you don't have to. Do it. All right. This document has a lot of fingerprints on it, and a lot of back and forth. But essentially, what we're doing is recommending, the ad hoc is met, all this. In full agreement. And we're recommending the $25 million bill credit that the staff is also recommending. And that's the bottom line. We are recommending that. We're putting this in a larger context because we would like to see more renewables. We would like to see more programs. But those aren't on the table now. But we wanted just to sort of kind of go on record that that's the way we're going. And, the ad hoc is not done. But the bottom line is, recommends that Santa pursue the plan to rate parity in 2020, maintain, where did that language, we took that language out, we changed it, but
Wait, this
Is this the most recent?
No,
this is not the most recent.
Not the most recent.
should say revision two, right?
Yeah. We get the right,
Is this wording?
no,
No, it's not good.
Karen, can you give it a calc website?
yeah, what I have, the latest menu, today's, or the agenda that went out. That's the same. The agenda that you printed isn't the agenda that you sent out. And what we need is the agenda that you sent out, which I can pass around. But essentially,
Can you just read it?
yeah, I mean, the key difference is we just dropped the word parity. We're saying, and so it says, pursue a plan to significantly reduce customer power costs in 2026 versus 2025. Beginning with a 25 million bill credit and continuing with rate setting as needed when further information is provided by PG&E at the end of 2025. The credit will be distributed across all customer classes, including a $40 credit for a typical green source residential customer. That's the core statement. Then we go on to say for 2026, we'd like to recommend essentially an increase in renewable portfolio standard by 2% to 64. And we'd like to allocate an additional 2 million toward decarbonization programs.
We'd like to, or we commit to?
We're not committing at this stage. Those will be decisions that would come before this.
Those are aspirational targets, not
Those-
commitments.
That's what, yeah, that's it. We're saying that we would like that now, for now.
Okay.
We're not doing that now. And to be honest, this was what the ad hoc thought was aspirational for this CAC, and we can debate whether what we want to be aspirational or not, but we'll be here longer as a consequence, and it's not binding. So
Just, we say, we said we'd like to have it. It's not clear to me if that's a demand or.
we're not demanding anything.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Probably something like suggest or something.
Yeah. So
Okay.
to clarify.
It's, if it's understood, just my ignorance of the language.
So you read the language yourselves, or I could read it if, again.
I have a question. I'm not sure who this recommendation, is this gonna, where is this gonna go?
Into the memo.
Into the memo? Okay, I just wanted to clarify where it's going. Okay.
Yeah, but essentially, we're communicating to the council our support for what the 25 million and broader context that we're thinking.
Okay. So when we get to questions, I have a comment.
At the end, we also talk about there's a reserve position. We can do this. We can cut the rates and give money back because of the strong financial strength. We can do this without compromising San Jose's financial integrity. But we also say we need to spend more on programs. This is not a time to go slow. We need to speed things up. And part of what will come up is, and we're planning to continue to look at the reserve policy of this within the ad hoc and may come back with recommendations on that as well. So that's all sort of going into what we're sort of our vision.
Victor, when you say guidelines on program spending into future years, what does that mean?
One of the questions that came up, now this is sort of spilling over into sort of the ad hoc discussion, but one of the things that Macwin pointed out was that it would be good if when we had a really strong reserve position, we could use that as an opportunity to ramp up spending on programs.
In future years, does that mean starting in 26 or 27?
27, beyond 26. We're cooking 26 now, but beyond, well, possibly it could come into the recommendation for what we do for program spending in the discussion in January. So it could be for just 2026, not necessarily.
So we have
More, we'd like an automatic mechanism. Do you want to speak to that, Macwin?
Yeah, briefly. So we have the ad hoc in December to talk about this last paragraph right there is Manny had some ideas and I had some ideas a little bit different, but we wanted to see how we can have some formula on some spending on programs rather than saying, can we spend this much or can we spend that much? So one of the ideas was if there is a lot of reserves above the minimum 180 days, then allocate this much percentage of, I provided 20% as the initial number, but allocate that much percentage to programs. So that was falling slightly more than the 12 million that's already been allocated towards programs, so it was not too far from there. But Mani had some other ideas, so I think in the December 2nd ad hoc meeting, we're going to be talking about that.
And we'll report back to you on that in January. And Mani and Macwin had the most energy on this. This has been near and dear to my heart in the past to spend more on reserves and not build it up, but I'm happy to watch and cheer.
Personally, you had a different
No,
suggestion. I'm sure this will be diversity.
There are long-term issues of how you handle reserves when you have a PCIA that make it complicated. It's not just as simple. And San Jose is in an awkward situation given the structure of the way the market works. And those are considerations that I'll bring to the table at the December meeting, but not for now.
I think Phil might.
Just one comment. Is there any marketing communication going along with this? Because people were already, I look at next door too, and anytime people look at San Jose Clean Energy, they're unpacking generation, transmission, PCIA, tiers, time of use, and now rebates.
Right.
And at any given time, they're like, I don't know what's going to, I'm just going to go PG&E, it's simpler. And that's what I see, is people trying to unpack all that's going on. And what we say is, as a matter of trust, is, always cheaper than PG&E. And clearly for a window of time, it's not going to be. So that promise is violated. And if people unpack that, I don't know what the long-term cost is of people pulling the plug and moving back to PG&E for us. I mean, I don't know what rates we're seeing.
It's a real concern. The reality is we are more complicated. We're an extra page of the bill sheet. And
people are just noticing
what's happening now is that they're getting a rebate that PG&E people aren't getting.
But they won't know.
But it's buried in the line.
It'll be your point is we ought to broadcast it and I don't
somehow,
know what Zach has in mind.
There should
That's
be
a good
some
question. Yeah.
And again, I don't know what the defect rate is, but I mean, I don't know if the PCIA, if PG is intentionally trying to kneecap the CCAs with moves like this or not. Yes, sorry.
In the past, there's been at least one time, right, where the rates were a little bit higher. We didn't, I mean, you see activity on Nextdoor, mostly because they always happen in the winter when it's cold and their gas
Yeah,
bill
and
goes
they're
up.
suddenly taking,
Yeah, but for the most part, you know, these bill payments in San Jose are automatic and most people
so
don't.
is it?
People don't, there's not a lot of people that say they want to leave, and I think when they do want to leave, they call in and
That,
Well, I don't know if it'd be worse or better to draw attention to it, to quietly give it and bring it up.
yeah, because most people just,
retention Or,
it just,
you folks know better than me, it's just and of course, the sample I get is the same noise that Karen was mentioning, so if you're telling me, you know, working day to day, that's not a problem, I'll take your word for it, you've studied it, you're the ad hoc committee, I just want to say, are these things considered? It sounds like the answer is
the ad hoc
yes.
did not investigate the communication of this, I remember, but Zach has some thoughts.
Well,
I'm
no,
sure.
I mean, just really briefly, because it's late, there is a communications plan. The participation in San Jose Clean Energy is higher today than it's ever been. It's more than 98%, so it ticks up. And, but our messaging should be not always cheaper. Our messaging should be cheaper, or should be over the long term, you're saving money. Because there are going to be weird years
and
like
improving the
this.
environment.
Yes, all of that, cleaner.
All right, peace, that's all I.
okay, then I have some comments too.
Please, Ruth.
I have a problem with the first sentence, pursue a plan to significantly reduce customer power costs.
Okay,
So significantly, what does that mean?
That's my question.
Yeah, because I think, you know, if we're gonna decrease it by, you know.
Lonnie?
Maybe the concern was that we don't want to set out parity arbitrarily before we know exactly what PG&E's data is gonna be. Could we just change it to pursue a plan to significantly reduce to approximately parity with PG&E?
This is
I
25 versus 26.
I have a problem with
What's
the
wrong?
word significantly.
It is significant, it's like 20%.
If we drop that word, I think it'll be fine.
just drop, let's drop significantly.
Yeah,
That-
because
I
it's
like
like,
that.
you know, like
I
$100 or is it
Yes.
$10?
It's generation.
We're doing this informally, we move on, but yeah, okay.
Okay, and then,
Can you edit that?
this is a PDF.
Oh.
We can find one.
We can find.
And then the word customer power costs, I guess it's okay.
We didn't want to say rates because it's the cost including the.
Okay,
credit.
I'm fine with that. And then, the other thing that I would suggest is, to increase the renewable, the RPS to 64%, we should have an estimated cost there. I'm going from 62 to 64 because, is San Jose going to be recommending 62? Is that what I heard earlier?
Yes,
And so that's 2% more. There should be an estimated cost that the council should know what it is.
Right now, this is just background. The real thing that we're supporting just the rate, the.
Right,
credit.
but you also, is this going to be in the?
We'd like it to be in the letter. We'd like it. This is recommends that clean energy.
I know,
And
but it goes, it's part of the package that goes to council,
Yeah.
correct? So then we need to have an estimate of that cost if we're gonna recommend.
It is in that slide, right?
Well, yeah,
1%.
the cost,
How much does
we're adding to is 1.7 million.
I think we should,
It's 850 twice, right?
I think we should say
1.7.
estimated at 1.7 million.
Okay. I've seen up signs and I'm hungry.
Okay.
All
And
right.
then, allocate an additional 2 million toward decarbonization programs. I know I wasn't on the ad hoc committee, apologies, but, I know that Ross had said something about how the EV programs had a higher, what was the term you used? They reduce more emissions per dollar, right?
That's right.
So could we say that? Something to that effect? Or I guess-
I don't feel like we have to go into that detail
Okay.
in council
Okay,
now.
that's late, okay.
That, so well, let's not do that. That got a thumbs down. You want to, so.
Nick, instead of additional 12, since there's no reference here, can we just say 14 million? Allocate 14 million for carbonization programs?
Okay, I like
Yeah,
that.
that makes more sense.
Plus.
Yeah.
You said 14.
That's good. Then can I?
So,
Get you in trouble.
is there anything else that, any adjustments, or are we?
Okay, let me read their last paragraph again. Because this is my last meeting, so I can't say anything next time I can suggest. Okay, I won't be part of the meeting, right?
You're always welcome to come as a member of the
Oh, I'll
public.
be here, but I won't be able to like discuss when you guys are discussing, so.
Lisa, do you have any, you have any comments?
Turned down.
I guess coming years is fine. I don't know why we're going so far out, but whatever.
I make a motion to, oh,
I
sorry.
have one final question to confirm. So at that $14 million, is this going to be the last time for 2026 that the commission will be giving input on that? Or is that, like you mentioned, will there be further, like, level spending options presented by others? Yeah, okay.
In January.
Okay, thank you.
So yes, let's, is there a motion?
So I move to accept as amended by discussion, the statement.
I second.
All those in favor, say aye. Opposed? It passes unanimously, so very good.
Thank you very much for.
Oh, yeah, thank
that
you, thanks.
opportunity. That was really, I
Yeah,
know it's a big
excellent.
heavy lift to do in short notice. I
Well,
appreciate
you all
it.
did it. You all showed up, fought traffic and everything else, and you had a quorum and all that.
Point of order, I would like to, because we aren't supposed to put that in there, I would like to thank Zach and Ross. It's a whole lot from their time. It's a lot.
Why not, don't put that in.
So,
Next paragraph.
There's another paragraph that says that, but the commission would, the staff would rather not say that. Is that correct?
That's all, that's.
This is fine.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, but it's not their name.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
It's not their name.
so we're fine. We're not going to make another motion with additional changes. This is it, right?
Yeah, and that was unchanged from the earlier versions and all that.
So, are you gonna go through the ad hoc?
Well, let me do the ad hoc real quick and then let's,
Okay.
we'll be done. Because we have important business. You go to the slides. Yeah.
This one we're done, I'll just maybe call in.
Let me just say, one, we've met 3 times. You've already heard that. Very congenial. We've learned a lot. We met in person. We met by Zoom. It was very effective and the staff were really great at sort of setting things up and answering questions and showing us stuff that we, were needed to see. The main thing that came up, 2 things came up. One was that the issue of looking at some kind of formulas or some kind of system to make sure that the reserves didn't sort of manage and supports increased spending on greenhouse gas programs. The other thing that came up and was a business of cost effectiveness. And I think Ruth or somebody pointed out that the cost effectiveness of that table seemed to vary. And if you go to the next slide, both Rio and I sort of jumped on that back when I didn't get to it first, but essentially these are the carbon reducing programs ranked. Just to reprise the slide that was presented earlier by Ross. What Rio's contribution was is, why not frame this as how many tons we get per $1 million? So the EV instant rebates get 980 tons, 9,800, I'm just, it doesn't matter. The home eco battery gets us almost as many tons per million spent. The home eco heat pump gets us about half as much. Sorry, good. The multifamily chargers, less still. The peak rewards, much less still. And the other, which are cats and dogs and probably, we don't know what's in them. Yes, less still. There's like a 20-to-1 range in the effectiveness based on the numbers in the table.
There's a lot of assumptions.
There are a lot of assumptions in these, and that's where we're getting to. The top three, you have 91% of the bang for 61% of the bucks. There are aspects of these programs that go beyond carbon reduction that are important to people. We recognize that. They should probably be brought out and discussed directly and not just sort of carried. And so what we'd like to see in the future is methodologies and understand more what's behind these. That's not going to be part of this ad hoc, but I would like to think of maybe setting up an ad hoc in the January meeting. That would be two in parallel, maybe different people, to sort of try to better understand where our estimates are coming from and help communicate that to us in future meetings. Exactly.
Part of our current ad hoc scope.
Financial concerns.
Okay.
It's valuable to have the same people who are already steeped in what you've done thus far.
We're not going to work on it before January. I'll promise you that. Having it as an item on the agenda, we can decide then whether to, but we burn out in March, and that's assuming that you and I are still here.
Are you discussing, is this methodology and key assumptions for program?
For programs, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I know that my car having purchased my car is going to save about 40 tons over the lifetime of that car based on numbers. So that's it. And where did that come from? And the other programs are similar. So we're done on this. Thank you.
And I don't think we need a motion for this. This is.
There's
just a
no
report.
action.
Right. Okay.
So thank you. So January is on an ad hoc, but is that the?
I didn't even.
Thank you, guys.
Program team will be here at that meeting.
All right, well, we are coming close to the end of the meeting here, and so we have one more important thing to do. I've been chair for a couple of years, and it's time for an election of a new chair and a vice chair to take us into starting January 2026, into the new year. I guess I'm really just opening this up. We need someone, a leader. So I'm opening this up to any motions for a chair at this point.
Oh, just really quick before we get into this, I just wanted to let you all know, the applications for the starting in January are with the mayor's office, and they are anticipated to go to council in December. I don't have a date yet, but related to that, we did determine that Glenn is eligible for another term because his first term was just a portion, and it wasn't the full. So I think last time I said that you were not eligible, and I just wanted to clear that up, so.
So I don't have to.
So did you apply? I thought you said.
Yes, he did.
Okay.
Yes.
So
we thought you were not eligible, but you
I'm
are.
turned out, I'm turned out.
Yeah.
Is in the class.
We want you to stay.
You can serve another time.
Okay, yes, another year or another 2 years?
It would be 4.
4 years. 4 years.
Yeah, if
Four
your
years.
first term is 2 years or less, like if you're filling a seat, like Macklin, for instance, then you can still serve a full 2 terms after that. So
So, I guess back to the question at hand.
Yeah, make
So
a
it's out of
nomination.
Yes, please do.
Okay, I'd like to make a two-part nomination, neither of whom have actually heard any of this. But Phil, you've shown interest in doing this. You have been vice chair, and wanting to do it is a big part of, a big qualification in my view. So I would nominate you for chair. In the spirit of new blood and where no good deed goes unpunished, I would nominate Macklin to be vice chair. We've spoken a lot.
You know what I'd like to do, Victor, I understand that, but let's separate
One at a
those two. Yes, one at a time. It's more appropriate, I think. So let's do that. Sorry about that, but I just want to make this fair for everybody. So you want to revise your motion?
My motion is to nominate Bill Remacher to be our second.
We have a motion and a second from Victor and Glenn. So all those in favor of Philip becoming chair for 2026?
I said Philip, I meant, yeah, I said Philip, right?
Yes.
Yes, for Philip, right.
And I accept the nomination if that matters. So.
No,
You can decide whether you want it or not.
That's the way I'm going. You're getting it now. So,
Is your term ending? Is that what?
If your chairship is done.
yeah,
The
it's sort
chair,
of on
you
a
vote for a
yearly.
new chair every year.
Yeah,
Your, your term on the commission is not ending, your term as chair is ending.
right, yeah.
Well, first term is it?
First, right,
Yeah.
right, right,
Oh.
exactly, first, yeah. But, you know, last year in 25, I agreed to continue on, but that was also a nominating process, so I had to be renominated. So anyway, so we have a motion on the table to vote for Philip Remacher to become chair for of the commission for 2026. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Aye, and all the ayes, any noes? Philip, congratulations.
I start in January. I'm gonna take over right now, do I?
January. That happened to me, it's not fun, so.
Yeah, that's how it went the first time, is
Yeah.
you're gonna get dropped right in. Sorry? Well, the commission started new with all of us, so.
Okay, we got,
So let's
I think
move
he's
on.
leaving, so let's do the
Yeah,
next
let's,
one.
please, yes, now let's start, motions are on the floor for the vice
All right, I
chair.
reintroduce my motion to nominate Macklin to be the vice chair, if he accepts.
And we have a second from.
And then we actually should do a little discussion to see if anybody else is interested.
Right.
So I was going to make a motion to nominate Commissioner Wakabayashi, yes?
Yes.
Mostly because he's got parliamentary procedure practice and background, and I find that a very useful add as a, and so, but I want to add a second nomination if he's accepted, if anybody else is interested.
So gee, how do we do this when we've got
Well,
two
you-
nominations on the table?
There'll be discussion, so, but somebody has to second the nomination first, and he has to
But we,
accept.
I think we can only have one motion on the table at a time. So let's
How does
have,
that work?
let's have discussion about, let's hear from the prospective vice chairs if we could.
Just do an election.
Yeah.
Yeah, just do an election.
That's
Yeah,
probably
we'll
the
vote.
better way to go, yeah.
If people don't want to say it out loud, we could write it on a piece of paper, or we could just go around the room and say it out
Well,
loud,
and-
whatever people want.
and with-
Gracie.
But also, the question is if both accept it, or.
Right, I love it.
Among themselves.
Right, I'd love to hear from both of you a little bit about if you're interested and why. Do you want to start?
Can you have two, by the way, can you have two?
Two vice chairs?
We're gonna do
No,
an
we're gonna
election.
do it
You know,
this
that's
way.
a-
No, we only have.
Co-vice chair?
I haven't heard of.
I think we just have one.
Let's
I think it would be
continue
easier
on,
to
so
have one if we can,
everyone,
but
so,
I don't know.
who would like to go first, Macklin or Royal, which would you
Let me
like?
look at our
To
bylaws.
just, it doesn't have to, just a minute or two, it doesn't have to go long, I just think it would be good to hear from you and your level of interest
I can
and
go first.
why.
Yeah, I can go first. I'll keep it short. It'll be a great honor. You know, a leadership position in climate related organization that's something with most of my life was doing something towards the climate, starting with my my PhD degree. So yeah, and as Bill points out, I have procedural training. It'll be an honor, but that being said, Macwin is also extremely qualified and passionate, and I would not take a vote against me and for Macwin personally at all. So I think we'll win either way. Thank you.
And so, what is your PhD?
I have a PhD in chemistry. I worked on materials for fuel cells and batteries in my dissertation.
All right, thank you. And Macwin?
Yeah, I definitely don't have legislative experience like he does. I mean, I don't know if that's kind of like.
It's not necessary for sure.
But I'm really enjoying the discussions we've had in the ad hoc. I think the ad hoc was the most fun part in the last few months. So I'm still learning, and I would be interested in being the vice chair and learn from you.
We'll all learn from each other, really.
And yeah. So I mean, the next few months, I was just thinking that the focus is to focus on the reserves and the programs, and working with Karen to do some of the legislative stuff. And that's all I wasn't even sure, I didn't even know that Victor was going to nominate me, but I mean, whoever's the choice, I think it would be a good one. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. What's your educational background?
I'm also similar, material science and chemical engineering, and I do research on batteries, and then I work in a battery company.
Yeah.
The process engineering. So
Well, we're going to do this as consider these mail-in ballots. So here, why don't you pass these around?
Point of order, do Macwin and I abstain, or what happened?
No, you vote for yourself.
You should, you want to split these in half?
Sure, go for it.
No, we don't have a, it's only.
There's another one. Do we need more? Or have you got,
I
you
need
guys?
one.
Okay.
Oh, you're not.
I need one over here.
Incoming too.
And how about, does everybody have a ballot now? Victor, do you have one?
Yeah, well, why don't you go first? 'Cause I have it. Yeah, we can combine.
I'm gonna let Ann be considered totally neutral to, you give these all to Ann.
Okay, here.
And we lost Glenn.
Yeah, Glenn's wife is flying home after a 2-month family absence in Guatemala.
I'll just have to excuse him.
Meeting that flight, staying here, watching us, we decided.
Okay.
We could probably fly.
That's right, we should. Is there such a thing as you guys?
Is there any of us voting?
It's the bylaw. I would accept I would actually accept the vote.
Yeah.
I don't know what the bylaw is.
Can I just be clear on that?
Okay. In a vote of 5-3, Rio.
Yep. Yeah, serving in leadership roles.
It's
gonna be legislative.
That just means we have more time to spend on legislation, all right.
I know I'll see you again.
I'll be
I
here
wanna
in
say
January.
It's been an honor having you. Have some free.
I don't know, I just want to make sure, let me just pull up really quick the work plan for January. I think,
Oh, thank you.
is the integrated resource plan coming in January? Great, coming in January, programs roadmap is coming in January. I think that's it.
And the ad hoc committee for legislation.
And then the 2 ad hocs we discussed today. I'm just gonna pull up the work plan real quick and see if there's anything else.
I just have to say that, I'm really.
Oh, and the climate adaptation.
Oh, yes. As for finishing up the voting for chair and vice chair, I just have to say, you guys are both outstanding. And I really, and I'm not just saying this, I am so pleased that you're both here with us. You've really added a lot, and I can see your potential for both of you to really make the commission something even more special. Thank you.
Yes, and I also want to thank Karen for doing a stellar job being the inaugural. Setting the standard that I have to aspire to be, so thank you.
Thank you.
I'll take a. Second.
You're on.
Yes.
We don't have to motion to adjourn, that's right. The chair just said, we're out of here.
We're happy, yeah.
Okay, have a good night.
That was great. Thank you so much for all your work.
Thanks for,
Make sure you get your parking validation if you didn't already.
Classic from the early days of